who will go down in American history as one of the greatest public servants of all time. When President Biden and Vice President Harris first took office on January 20th of 2021, the Biden-Harris team assumed a public health crisis, an economic crisis, and a democracy crisis in the immediate aftermath of January 6th at the same time. And thanks to the leadership of President Joe Biden and his partnership with Vice President Kamala Harris, they were able to rescue the country from a once-in-a-century pandemic and turn the situation around so we could return to normalcy. Thanks to the leadership of President Biden and his partnership with Vice President Harris, they were able to save the economy from a once-in-a-decade or so recession-like situation and set us on a positive path so that everyday Americans could thrive in every single zip code across America. Thanks to the leadership of President Biden and his partnership with Vice President Harris, dignity and decency and a democratic way of life was restored to the Oval Office and 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. We owe a debt of gratitude to President Biden for his tremendous leadership, and I'm also thankful for the incredible partnership that he has had for the last 3.5 years with Vice President Kamala Harris.
Leader Jeffries.
Leader Jeffries, first, will you endorse Kamala Harris? And then I have one other question for you.
Well, Leader Schumer and I are scheduled to meet with Vice President Harris shortly. The House came back into session today. The Senate does not come back into session tomorrow. I'm excited for that meeting, and let me say this, that Vice President Kamala Harris has excited the community. She's excited the House Democratic Caucus, and she's exciting the country. And so I'm looking forward to sitting down with her in person in short order with Leader Schumer, and we'll have more to say about the path forward as soon as that meeting concludes.
Quick question. What does President Biden need to do these final few months to ease the path to help, while he's in office, to ease the path to make it easier for Democrats to flip the House and to keep the White House?
Well, President Biden is going to continue to do his job. And he's put the country first. He's put the American people first. He's put hard-working American taxpayers first, which is what President Biden has always done. And as a result of his leadership, we've seen transformational change, fixing our crumbling bridges, roads, tunnels, airports, our sewer and water systems, rescuing the economy from the once-in-a-century pandemic, gun safety legislation for the first time in 30 years, standing up for our veterans, bringing domestic manufacturing jobs back home to the country, and passing the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the largest investment in combating the climate crisis in the history of the world. We still have more work to do. We still have to lower costs. We still have to end price gouging. We have to continue to grow the middle class, defend democracy, and fight for reproductive freedom. President Biden will continue to do that job along with Vice President Harris and Democrats in the House and the Senate.
Leader Jeffries. This has been a few weeks of very intense discussions about Biden being at the top of the ticket. What light can you shed to the American public about the concerns that you conveyed to the president about staying on the top of the ticket?
It's a private conversation with President Joe Biden that will remain private.
Mr. Leader, I mean, there has been a lot of reporting about what was said and wasn't. So just for the record, can you just be clear? Did you ever tell the president that he could hurt Democrats' chances at taking back the majority if he stayed in the race? And secondly, what do you say to those, whether it's Ron Klain or congressional Republicans, who claim that Democratic Party leaders or elected officials pushed the president out?
President Joe Biden is a heroic, patriotic, and transformational figure. And he will go down in history as one of the greatest public servants of all time. That much is clear. I had a private conversation with President Biden to express the perspectives that were wide-ranging of the House Democratic Caucus. That conversation will remain private. In terms of my Republican colleagues, former President Donald Trump and extreme MAGA Republicans are having a meltdown right now. A complete and total meltdown. Why? Because their presidential nominee is unpopular. The extreme MAGA Republican policies are unpopular, including trying to impose a nationwide abortion ban on the American people, and their Project 2025 is unpopular. They're having a meltdown right now. All we want to do as Democrats is have a debate about moving the country forward and continuing to put people over politics.
Can you speak for just a moment to what the concerns you were hearing from members, in swing districts who were concerned about the president possibly dragging down ballot, and how this potentially changes that equation by changing the top of the ticket?
Here's what we're looking forward to. We are going to do everything we need to do as House Democrats to win back control of the House of Representatives and vacate the extreme MAGA Republican majority on November 5th.
When is that meeting? Today, tomorrow?
We're waiting on Leader Schumer to get back into town, as well as to get exact confirmation from Vice President Harris. Thanks.
Thank you. You said that she's exciting the community, that Kamala Harris is exciting the House Democratic Caucus. Can you speak to what particularly excites the caucus about her versus the president?
Well, we're looking at a frame of change versus the status quo, moving the country forward versus Donald Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans who want to turn back the clock, defending freedom, like a woman's freedom to make her own reproductive health care decisions, versus the nationwide abortion ban that Donald Trump and the extreme MAGA Republicans want to jam down the throats of the American people. We're looking at building an economy from the middle out and the bottom up that works for everyday Americans, versus the extreme MAGA Republican plans and Donald Trump's plans to drive a big tax cut down the throats of the American people that benefit the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. Last question. I'm looking forward and excited for the meeting that we will have in short order with Vice President Kamala Harris. Thank you, everyone.